Hey chat, hey everyone, and welcome to the 1.12 developer update live stream. And today I'm here with Dennis finally back. Hey Dennis, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to see you again. And Ferenc, hey Ferenc, how are you?
Hey, thank you. I'm fine. It's been a long time, so glad to be back on this dev stream.
Yeah, I think we did the last stream with you as well, so people may be already familiar with you. And
yeah, it's been 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, it feels like forever. So yeah, this is actually our first dev stream of the year, and it is gonna be an exciting one. We have a lot to talk about, but let's just dive into the stream itself, and let's start talking about our first topic, which is like some housekeeping and some community updates, because a lot happened in the past month, so there's a lot to talk about here as well. And let's just talk about Devil's Moon, which ended recently. It was a huge event. We experimented with a lot of things. I think we can say it was a good success, and we learned a lot from it. But maybe Dennis and friends can tell a bit more about what we did and what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ferenc.
Well, definitely it was a big improvement compared to the Serpent Moon event in terms of live design. I could say we took the feedback of the community to heart. We agreed that the different point requirements for the different event levels were not the same. So the point requirements were not incrementally linear. And so we tried to shift the balance a little bit back to reality by making every level require 1,000 points. I think that the community really liked that approach or that change. And we have experimented this very first event with a separate funnel or source, basically, of how people can earn event points through the challenges system. And that was also really well perceived. And I think looking back at the data, the community feedback, and the player perception, I think we achieved basically much easier, much smoother player experience, less grinding in terms of event objects. And yeah, I think it was much more easier this time.
Absolutely. I think people really enjoyed the event. Like, we had a blast as well. What was really cool was just preparing for it, like going a bit more bold when it comes to like gameplay mechanic changes, like experimenting with the trades and then seeing how people react to it, like which of the pacts were the stronger ones. And we learned quite a lot from that one. So you'll see some of those lessons learned also today in the stream, I guess.
Right, exactly. And also the Inferno, our first wildcard condition, also appeared during the event, which I also really loved, and it was a lot of fun. But let's not talk about Devil's Moon, but we also have some other things, which is our 5th anniversary. So Hunt did turn 5 years old on the 22nd of February. So congrats to all of you that has been with us through this treacherous journey of Hunt. It's been a lot of fun. The game grew so much, the community grew, and we are bigger and stronger than ever, and there's a lot more to come. Yeah, it's amazing to see that. And we did celebrate it with a lot of activities. So we had a Twitch drops. Also, Ferenc, maybe you can talk about it since you worked on it a lot.
Yeah, there was this nice idea, I think, because I joined not more than a year ago, but someone approached me and basically introduced me to the fact that we already did something similar in the past with the bundle rewards, you know, of the item instances. Like in this case, they were non-legendary item instances. And so we pushed for it. We brought back the concept in the shape of the anniversary supply crates. And this was a really nice incentive for players to engage with the streamers, with the game, get some free stuff, get back into the bayou. I myself know that I have been watching it as well. Sometimes I get a nice Dolch or a Nitro Express rifle. But yeah, I've been reading about unfortunate or like talking about chance, right? Because these bundles contained like a vast list of randomized item instances. I think I read a comment, a post on Reddit, someone basically getting like bow and arrow for a whole medieval army.
There's nothing wrong about that.
Big shout out for you. You tried. Sorry, the chances were against you, but I mean, it's a nice weapon with lots of custom ammo, so go for it.
Be a pro, use a bow. I was super lucky with it. I actually got like I think 3 Dolge precisions, a regular Dolge, and 2 Nitro. So there you go.
I also got a lot of Dolces, so that was fun to play around with. So, but in general, I think it was a really fun event, and thank you for all the streamers that participated and just creating content around the game. It's always very nice to see you, and you know, we may have more similar things in the future as well. And we had something else that we tried for the first time ever, which was the Bounty Bash, kind of like a game show format. We never done that before. Shout out to all the partners that participated and competed against each other. And congrats to the big winner, Gunsmack. So make sure to check out the partners. They many of them won rewards that they will be giving away to their communities. So if you follow them, you may be one of the lucky ones getting those. So again, congrats to everyone. It was a lot of fun. And also to our team working on it, to the production team, audio team, creative services. I know it was a lot of effort to put this together. So again, thank you for all of you.
Oh, and also for the bosses.
True. For all the bosses. So I think we had Fabian from game design, actually. We had Anton as a boss. We had Tom Neatfeld as well. I'm not sure if I'm missing someone. But yeah, thank you for all the Crytek bosses as well that participated.
Everybody got banished.
True.
As always, yeah.
And yeah, and we also mentioned that there is a developer insight video coming soon that will contain a lot of information for the roadmap for Hunt this year and even insight to next year. And this will be very, very, very soon. So you won't have to wait a long time for it. And it really will contain a lot of information, even about this stream itself. So please keep an eye on our social channels. Please follow us everywhere. Also subscribe to our YouTube since it will be posted there. And yeah, again, it will be very soon. So
yeah, like this stream here is focused on the spring update, and then the video will look a little bit beyond that.
Exactly, and it's gonna be David, our general manager, talking to Rick there about all the upcoming stuff. So it will be a big and long video with a lot of info, so you don't want to miss out on that. But with all this out of the way, let's talk about the update. So as Dennis said, it's the spring update, as we call it, or in this case, update 1.12 to give it a number. And yeah, let's talk about the service side changes to start off. And I know people will be quite happy about this one. So important bug fixes, Dennis. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
And ta-da!
So yeah, the first one is the reload bug. So we've been working very, very hard on it. Like we had like a strike team, and people have been really crunching quite a lot on that one. We have something that feels a lot better, looks a lot better. We will go to test server, obviously, with 1.12, and we hope to get more feedback from you guys on that one. We are very confident, but obviously we have to put it to the test and then see if anything is remaining, if it is as solid as we hope it is. But so far, it has resonated very, very, very nicely with us. So fingers crossed. Looks good.
Yeah, so please join the testing phase this time around. The test server will come very soon as well, because we need to test it with a bigger player base, basically see how it works. But we are, again, very hopeful. And there's another very big one, I think, that is, which we will dive into a bit more too. But yeah, you can introduce it.
So basically, the whole left side peak advantage, like if you are around the corner from a particular side, like you have an advantage in terms of how much is visible of your body. We finally be able to look into that and come up with a good solution. So I guess on the next slide, we go a bit more in detail on that one.
Right. And I just want to mention that obviously there will be a lot of bug fixes in this update other than these. We just wanted to highlight these two because these are I guess very big topics in the community and also very big fixes. But please check out the patch notes later on with all the fixes included. And as Dennis said, let's talk about the left side peak advantage.
Exactly. Like we're going to keep it very, very brief for some of the features here in the stream, but the nodes that will be coming out then once we are on the test server, they will give you the full pictures, and that's perfectly fine to leave it with that. So what did we do is basically to highlight what the issue was. The issue was a mismatch between where your camera is positioned and how your own Hunter model is basically aligned to that one, and therefore whether it might be a little bit more hidden or not, depending on which side. It goes a bit like basically carrying over to one side. So we basically change the location of that Hunter model in relation to the camera. I did a lot of testing on that one and made sure that we can get it as even as is possible. Keep in mind, it still is an animation. It's a pose, it's a stance. The weapon is in one hand, not the other, that type of stuff, right? So it will never be 100%. But I think what we will show you in a second will already be a great step forward for everybody. So yeah, it basically reduces the advantage gained from peeking from the left side of cover. And it specifically focuses on how much of a hunter their head is shown.
Yeah, so as you said, let's look at the pictures because I think they speak for themselves and it's a bit easier to see. So let's see a standing stance first.
Yeah, so what we see on the left side is basically how you can see that it's been like a bit of Photoshop thing here, right? So this is not one big screenshot. On the left side, you see the old one, and you can see like if you kind of barely just peek around that corner, this is what you see from one side versus the other, and you can see how like much it was kind of tilted over to one side, and that was not what we wanted. Now, if you take a look on the right-hand side, this is what it is now after balancing and tuning this. Obviously, it's not 100%. That's just not possible, but it is very, very close and should be a lot fairer. So in general, you should be able to no longer really take that as an advantage when you peek around corners. You should be like visible enough that there will be return fire.
And I see the chat is already very happy, which makes me very happy too. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, let's see the crouching position as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like the same thing with crouching. It was even more apparent with crouching, as you can see. So again, normalizing it, make sure that you always see at least half the head and then whatever is left from the body based on the stance.
Yeah, amazing. Again, thank you for everyone working on this. And again, thank you for the community for pointing it out in the first place and shining a brighter light on it. And it's here. I think we can all be very happy with this change. And
yeah, awesome. I think what's really important here also is keep in mind, like this is static images, right? The moment you're out on the servers, right, there's latency, there's your ping, there's other things that contribute. So you might still obviously have situations where someone is kind of shooting from around the corner. That is still a possibility, as is with everything online gaming, right? But overall, it should be a lot fairer because of the way the model is now distributed. So we are very, very positive. Again, please test server, check it out, give us feedback, and we see if need be if we can improve it further. But I think we're in a very good spot now.
Yeah, again, please test it. But yeah, that's about the left side peak advantage and the main bug fixes. And it's Ferenc's time to shine. So the Hungarians take over the stream. Yeah. And let's talk about the new quest lines that are coming in this update.
All right, so I think it has been spoiled a couple of days ago. So you might be already aware of it. We have been planning 2 new quest lines for to release for update 1.12. They are going to be coming in a week or so, like 2 weeks, I think. Both will be available on the test servers. Please do note that while both of them will be available on the test server, the conditions, the logic, the text for the different quests are already final, but the balancing values are not the finalized one on test server. So we have made the call to basically lower down the values so that players can grind through the quest lines, maybe to get a legendary reward, get a new weapon variant faster so that they can test it out also in test environment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, the 2 quest lines are basically going to be the Ward of the Reptilian first, and then the Vengeance of the Skinned. So these are the planned start and end dates for both of them. So I think we will have the console release on the 22nd of March. And so both quest lines are going to be running for approximately 1 month. I think it's 31 days for each quest line. And as you can see, it's self-explanatory. They are not going to be overlapping. They are not going to be running in tandem. They are going to be scheduled one after another.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Just keep in mind, like we will also obviously have the tester period before. So at the moment, this is the dates we're running with, just expecting like that everything will go smooth and fine.
Correct. And just because some people already asked, the quest lines will be only available during these dates. The dates are not 100% final. They're just planned for these dates currently. But you will be only able to play these quest lines during this period. Yeah, let's talk about changes that we made to the quest lines and challenges and what else did you do regarding them?
Yeah, so not only we have been planning on delivering content in a midterm for players to engage with the game, get new cool stuff, but we also looked into what we could improve in terms of quality of life improvement, user experience, and cutting around the edges of the original design. I think you guys probably pointed out with the initial batches of quest lines that landed in 1.10, sorry, already looking forward, 1.10, that the logic and the basically the design was not clear for players whether a quest, a condition would be shared in a team or not. Long story short, PvE-oriented objectives were counting for all players of the same team, while PvP-oriented quests conditions didn't. And so we have made the final decision to basically make everything team shared by default. This means basically if you have a quest, say kill enemy hunters with rifles, and your teammate lands the killing blow with a rifle, you don't even have to have a rifle actually in your loadout. But as long as someone gets that kill on an enemy hunter with a rifle, the player in the team who has the quest active will get progress to their quest. Shout out to players who are still stuck with the Billy and the Stalker Beetle quest line. I know when we originally designed it, we actually had even higher numbers, like I think kill 3 enemy hunters with Stalker Beetle. Apparently it was too situational, too hard, too challenging. So shout out to you if you are stuck with a particular quest in that quest line. This is actually going to be applied to that quest line as well. So you are going to be able to maybe complete it now for good and complete it faster than before.
Also, I must add that it has always been a lot of fun when you play with friends and you're always like, oh, how can I help you with this quest line? And then it was only for the AI quest, but it will be a lot of fun with PvP as well. Okay, I'm gonna take bleed ammo to help you. So that's great.
And also there will be something with the beetle that we talk about a bit later as well.
True.
Oh yeah. Another small thing that we decided to go forward with was improved readability when it comes to the UI. I know that for some conditions can be written out in 3, 4, 5 words. Some other description texts are maybe almost 3 lines long. And so we wanted to provide a little bit more readability. We're going to show you pictures in the following slides. By highlighting certain targets or criteria. This also applies for both challenges and quest lines, and now regarding changes only done for the quest lines. So we decided that there was not much visibility for when I think the first one that was temporary running for a period was the Halloween quest line, right? And yes. We didn't have, we promoted it all across our social platforms, social media. But when a player landed in the game, it was not necessarily clear that now there was a new little tab in the sub menu called quest lines, and that it was running currently. So we decided to create these so-called teaser banners that are going to be accompanying quest lines once one of them is released. And we have also decided to, make it a little bit cooler, fresh by providing little UI dressing here and there.
Yeah, so let's look at them because I think that's even easier for you to explain. So let's look at here first with the quest lines.
Yeah. So here it's clearly showing the Act 4 of the first quest line. As you can see, there's this really cool background dressing, the background image with the legendary hunter, the skilled ward. You can see that there's text highlighting for certain criteria here and there, like targets that you have to eliminate, that you have to kill or have to deal damage to, certain item types, equipment type, or damage type. Yeah.
I just see the chat going crazy. Guys, you will have to figure that stuff out. Yeah. But yeah, so let's look at the challenges as well.
Yeah, challenges clearly, and without having to say further, it also benefited from at least the highlighting there, so it looks a little bit more sleek, more readable. or easy to read, I would say. Yeah, needless to say, it also applies for the vertical list containing both quests and challenges, both in the lobby and in game, in your little menu when you hit tab. So
Yes, and the questline screen.
yeah, again, we just decided to provide you the community with like an overview on like how do they look like when each and one of them are running. They have this really sleek little background on their card. Like I said, I think it was a great balance, like a great scope of providing 6 acts for each quest line. Again, they are not going to be running in tandem once live, but on the test server, yes. What else to mention here? The same approach applies like before. So each act basically rewards the player with 1 cool stuff to gain, whether it is a legendary hunter, a legendary equipment, permanent unlock, mind you. So these are still not instances, right? Or I think you can see a little bit of weapon charm on the right, but also 2 new weapon variants for both quest lines. Yeah.
Interesting. But before we go into the weapon variant, just to highlight that obviously on the live servers, the 2 quest lines won't go at the same time. So this is just a test environment. It won't be like this. As you can also see in this screenshot, there's a lot of weird things, like a lot of handlers. So again, it's just a test.
Exactly how many blood bonds I have.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the event and time and all that is just set up here for so you can see it. But again, it won't be like this on the live servers. Just to highlight that.
Yeah, but also like try it out on a test server.
Yes, and I also see people talking about the rewards. You will have to check out the test server as well. Participate in the live quest to find out what those are about, because they are really cool. But at least some rewards we can talk about. Parents already mentioned. So let's see about those weapon variants. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you guys the floor. Give you the moment to shine. I'm going to stay here for the Q&A later. There are still lots of very cool improvements and addition to the game, so stay tuned and see you in the Q&A.
Okay, see you back. Thank you, friends.
See you in a bit. Ciao.
All right, so yeah, you've been replaced by attacks, friends. I'm so sorry. Now I have Dennis here to talk about his favorite topic, I think, of new weapon variants this time, again, coming with the quest lines.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an important point. Like they will be like first available with the quest lines. So initially unlocked by completing the acts, and then afterwards, obviously, they will come to the regular weapon unlock order in a future update. So not similar to what we've done in the past, for example, with the spring event last year. So let's talk about them.
Right, let's start with a new one that I don't think you could even recognize from those small pictures. So Winfield Centennial Shorty.
Yeah, so this is basically our good old friend the Centennial, just a bit more squashed. So what we have here now is basically the shortened version. So as you have the Vandal for the 1873 Winfield rifle, obviously with a big caliber here. And if you go further, like it is a medium slot weapon, so very important. So you finally have a good quartermaster complementary or even a rifle option that packs quite a bit of punch if you, let's say, want to play with a bow. I encourage people to play with a bow because I love the bow. Also, obviously, like it does what a sawn-off version does. It has more recoil and sway, and it has a reduced capacity, so just 5+1, but still packs quite a punch and is a little bit less controllable than the Vandal in comparison because of the bigger caliber, but is still a quite trusty little companion piece.
It looks cool, and we're gonna look at a video just in a second, but let's look at these pictures first so you have a closer look. It is pretty and really short. But yeah, let's look at some gameplay.
Yeah, poor tower again.
Poor tower, always. So yeah, pretty similar for the Centennial, but you can see the ammo differences, and obviously just the gun being shorter. And yeah, it will be very cool with some even quartermaster loadouts, I think. Right. Anything else you want to say
Yeah.
about the shorty?
So basically, once you have unlocked it, you can purchase it for like $103. So much cheaper compared to the full-size version, of course.
Right. Awesome. But that's not all the weapon variants, right? I think there's something similar to this on this line. What is that then? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that one. So the Centennial Shorty Silencer.
Well, I guess in order to have a Centennial Shorty Silencer, you had to have a Centennial Shorty. So
Makes sense.
now we get to the real thing. So this is basically our first medium slot, medium ammo silenced rifle. I'm not saying weapon because we have the bow. Again, I encourage everybody to play the bow. But this one is basically a very, very nice companion piece for people. So I think people will enjoy playing with that, trying it out. Obviously has a bit faster damage fall off compared to its normal shorty cousin, but that comes just with all the trade-offs of what the silencer usually does. So let's have a look at it.
Yeah, here's some pictures of it so you can actually see how it looks nice and close. That silencer is very hunty, I must say.
It's a bigger round. I mean, the Sparks still wins, right?
True. But yeah, let's look at a few video examples here then. Dennis cannot hear the audio, but you guys can. So
I've heard it a lot already.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, it will be very interesting to see the loadouts that people come up with, like how they combine it, besides the bow.
You could take it with a bow, and then it's like very silent.
You should.
Yeah, and it can obviously also do levering. So let's see how that looks like when it actually uses that.
So as you know, like Centennial levering isn't the most reliable, it kicks quite a bit, etc. And obviously it doesn't get better with a bigger crosshair now here on the Sonov version, but it is there as a last resort option. So you might surprise one or the other person with that.
Shed is saying amazing sound. I agree. It sounds really cool, actually. Awesome. So that was our two shorty variants. And again, they will be tied to the first quest line.
Yeah, so those two will come first. Then once that first quest line is over, you have a chance to kind of unlock the other two. And if you miss out for whatever reason, the update coming after that will make them available as normal unlocks. So.
Right, and since we showed the two quest lines already, people, I think, already spotted some other stuff in the chat. So let's look at the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the Springfield Crack Bayonet variant.
Yeah. So it's just a single bullet point. It is a hedge bayonet to a crack rifle. I think everybody can work with that information. But it is kind of a nice unlock path there, and gives players a chance to use it for stabby work too. And
compared to the shorty, this is a very long boy. So yeah, and it looks quite cool. It's like a proper knife or like a dagger attached to the.
Yeah, it is not a riposte though. It's a true bayonet version. So it's just a heavy melee attack for stabbing, not the regular one. And I think the price is, let me have a quick look here. The price was $426. And by the way, because we didn't talk about this with the silencer is $137 to purchase.
Awesome. So let's look at it in action. I mean, it is also, as Dennis said, quite self-explanatory because a pokey
pointy end goes forward and then.
And I mean, but at least like now you can use a Krag in close range, which is nice. And just let's look at how it shoots as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome because like the higher rate of fire makes the Krag a little bit like better to use in close range, in my opinion, and then having the melee option kind of works very nicely for that.
It's a nice combo for sure. So chat asked, how much did you say it cost?
426.
There you go. looks great. Again, the pictures also.
Nothing to add, I guess.
Yeah, I also like when we created the presentation, we were like, okay, do we add bullet points, or since it's the Bayonet like everyone knows, so let's just keep that fun on the pictures and videos built for themselves.
And it will be very similar with the next one as well.
Yeah, but I think people will be excited for that one too, which is the Springfield Crag Sniper variant.
So here again, a long scope on the Crag. So a companion piece now to in the arsenal, that is to the Mosin Sniper and the Lebel Marksman. So I'd say it's like the third of those long ammo rifles with a long magnification scope on them. Obviously, we place it a bit differently, as you know. Like the damage is a bit weaker. It's like on the lower end of what ammo, like long ammo, can perform at. But it does have a higher fire rate. So we've been interesting to see how people will be using that one.
Yeah, and again, it's a very long scope and nice, and I'm curious to see how it competes against the Mosin later on.
Yeah. But this one costs like 610, so it's a bit more
pricey.
in quotes. Yeah, but also a bit more budget actually compared to, let's say, like a full-blown Mosin Sniper.
True. Let's see how it looks when you. I don't actually use a scope.
Yeah, like animations are dope on it.
Very cool. Again, chat asked like, what was the price again? Just so they can hear.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
It's $610.
$610. Oh, and there's some scope action.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing really more to add to that one. Pretty straightforward. Everybody probably knows what it all means in gameplay terms.
Right. So yeah, that's the 4 new weapon variants coming with the quest lines. Or the Crag variants will be tied to the second one.
Exactly.
And but on the test servers, you guys can unlock it and test both of these already. So again, please try it out. Let us know how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's also like on the test server, we will be giving out a few instances of those, even if you haven't done the quest line. So there is no need to grind the quest lines on test server before you had your chance to have a hand on it. There will be, I think, like 5 or 10 or so, I'm not 100% sure, instances of each for everybody who's going to the test server to play with. And obviously, after those are spent, if you spend them all, then you would need to first get the unlock from the quest line test-wise.
Yes, awesome. All right, but we actually have a lot more to talk about as well. So we have a lot of exciting topics. I can't even wait to show you. This is one of those, actually. So we are getting a brand new scripted tutorial. And Dennis, let's talk about a bit about the importance of like the new player experience in Hunt and why we decided to work on this aspect of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting new players into the game is super, super important for all of us, right? We want this game to continue to grow. We want to get new players in. We want to get our friends in that maybe like didn't want to play it yet. Like this is another way for us to reach out to new players, to give them a chance to actually be part of this, kind of ease them into the game, give them a chance to actually kind of like familiarize themselves, etc. When we went out of early access in 2019, like we had to just put a very basic tutorial in. It was kind of like playing the game offline locally, like in the reduced version, and then a couple of hints can at least tell you a little bit what's going on. We were never really quite happy with it. It did its job basically, but it was never really a good tutorial. So we were super happy that we can finally come back to this, actually provide a proper atmospheric tutorial that players can kind of like use to immerse themselves a little bit in the game, but also take away very important beats in terms of understanding what the game is all about and what to look out for.
Right. I mean, I know everyone in chat has 5,000 hours in Hunt, but Hunt is a really complicated game with a lot to know, a lot of mechanics, and I would say a pretty big learning curve to like properly understand. And I think this is a great step to introduce people to that and make them understand the game much better. But yeah, let's talk about what it actually entails then.
So first off, like we actually do have a completely overhauled voice tutorial now. So like think of it as a very traditional tutorial where you go room to room and learn new things and then move on to the next room, put them to practice and kind of build upon that knowledge that you learned before. So very typical work for if you have played a game tutorial, you know what's coming basically. But we also have a veteran hunter, John Victor, voiced by iconic Duke Cockle. So please Google that name. And he will basically be kind of like hand-holding you through that entire experience, more or less. He might also challenge you quite a bit. And make sure that in the end you are a certified hunter.
And yeah, we will take a short look in just in a few minutes of the tutorial as well, so you guys see. But this is actually the first voice-acted character in Hunt, and when I watched it, I got goosebumps. It's like the first, like you get a different feeling. It makes you feel like it's real, you know. So it's great. And I can't wait to show you in a few minutes how it is. But still, let's talk about what the tutorial has and what is the difference between the basic and the advanced options we also had in the past.
Exactly. So like the tutorial, like the onboarding is divided into two parts. Well, we have this basic tutorial, which is like the core elements of the game. This is that room-to-room experience, that guided experience where John Victor is basically, turning you into a proper hunter. So besides the core elements of Hunt, which is obviously movement, etc., there's also other important things. If you go to the next one, please, which is gunplay. On one hand, of course, team play. So yes, there is a multiplayer component to it. Obviously, without having other players, we still want to teach you about important things you need to learn in the game regarding PvP. So threat clues, for example, reviving, what that means. So all of that is being covered in the tutorial, and we hope that players have a much better understanding. This was one of the shortcomings in the old tutorial, is that we basically never had the chance to really teach you about other players, except for putting a couple of corpses around you could loot. But it was a very, very limited experience. Of course, there is no PvP fighting here, but still, we're touching upon the topic, and we hope that we can prepare the players a lot better for their first PvP encounters and their first, in general, steps in the Bayou when there's other players around.
Right, but we still do have the advanced tutorial available as well. So what will that do then differently?
Yeah, so the advanced tutorial is basically the section you can kind of continue into seamlessly once you've played the basic tutorial. You can also access this separately, and this is one compound you can kind of explore. And you have all of the AI types in there. They're sometimes even a bit caged in. So, for example, emulators are not able to run out of a certain area. So you can actually play with the mechanics a little bit. It doesn't become like a big mess as they all run into one another and you have hives and meatheads and whatever attacking you all at the same time. We try to pace it as much as possible in the sandbox environment, so you can really spend some time with each of the AI types. And there's also lots of tooltips, that kind of like hints that kind of pop up through the basic tutorial, but also the advanced tutorial that kind of gets you to a specific like narrative pages in the manual, so you can read up more about all of these details. So like the entire UI has been kind of like updated for that purpose as well. It's a lot more hand-holding and gives you much more information what to look out for if you want to learn more, how to dig deeper into that, and read up on the details.
Yes, and as always, please help us test this. This is actually a big feature, so if you wouldn't mind going to the test server soon and actually playing through the tutorial and give us your feedback, would be very helpful.
There's one thing as well. You guys might be familiar with this from the current tutorial, so you can replay the tutorial later on. And the advanced tutorial section you can also replay. And if you do, you can basically bring your current hunter. There's no risk of losing that hunter with the gear, whatever you put on him, and you can try things out. So you can still use that as an environment, for example, to kind of like shoot at specific AI types, try things out, and like get a feeling for example, like recoil of weapons, handling, etc. So whatever you've unlocked, whatever is in your arsenal, you can put on a hunter, you can replay the tutorial, and then you can try those, like the equipment, the gear out without spending it, without losing it, and obviously also without progressing your hunter that way.
Awesome. So what do you think, Dennis? Should we show a few minutes of this?
Yeah. So we've recorded like the first 3.5 minutes, and I think we're just going to show you the introduction video of the tutorial in the first 3 minutes, and then the rest you can try out on the test server once it comes online. So there will be a couple of things obviously not shown in that one then.
Right, so I'm just gonna mute you and me, and yeah, guys, enjoy it. This is gonna be a lot of fun, so let's look.
For you, the suffering of a savior and the coin of a betrayer. The pain is forever, but the money is worth it. You're a survivor, or at least got the makings of one. Get on up now. That injection knocked your teeth in real good, didn't it? There's a health kit by the gate. Use it. All patched up? Then head on out. You got a lot to learn. First lesson. Wading through water is noisy and slow, but sometimes it's the only way forward. Stay vigilant. It's good to be quick, but running for too long will drain you. Stop sprinting at times to catch your breath. You're gonna encounter traps like that from time to time. Patch up so you don't bleed out. I gave you that first aid kit for a reason. If it's used up, there's a health station right there. Now, if you want to make good money, you're gonna need to find a target. Remember that shot? It made you special, and it'll help you see beyond human limits. It gave you something called dark sight. Feels like an itch behind the eyes. Focus on that feeling to enter the sight and look for a blue glow. The light'll lead you to your first clue. Each clue guides you towards your target. That map I left in your pocket will point you forwards. I even took the trouble of marking supply points and the like in the legend. Between the map and dark side, you'll be able to narrow down the location of your target with each clue. Good work. Looks like your target is west. Head on up the ladder and let's see how sneaky you can be. Got ourselves a bunch of animals. They're ready to holler if you spook them, and that risks you alerting an enemy nearby. Try to reach the gate across the way without troubling any animals. Who knows? I might even reward you.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like it kind of speaks for itself. I see people with goosebumps in the chat. I feel the same way. It's amazing.
I can't stop smiling.
Yeah, same. It's
No, I'm super happy and super proud of the team that did that. Like, it's an amazing achievement. I really enjoyed every second of it, and I think it worked out very well. So you guys need to get your hands on it on the test server. Give us a feedback. Obviously, look at it from your veteran's eyes perspective, right? You know everything already in there, and use it also to something to kind of like maybe tell your friends about it. Like, there's a new way of getting into the game that's coming soon.
Yes, definitely. This update will be such a good opportunity to get your friends that they will not try the game so far or because it's too hard. I feel like this will help a lot. So please tell them. And also, I almost got emotional just reading the chat during that. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. So. I was so excited to show this, so let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and but that's not all. So as we said, this is a big thing for the game, but we still have a lot more in this update that you've been asking for a long time as well. So this is one of those quality of life features, which is the equipment screen refinement. So what is that about, Dennis?
So this is actually pretty amazing work that like the UI team has been cooking up. What we're basically doing now is we give you a different way of organizing your arsenal, and specifically the legendaries. So basically what they are now is their skins. So if we recall, for those veterans amongst you, like who've been with us like since early access, and when we introduced with 1.0 legendary skins, we only had a handful at that time. And like the easiest and the best solution at that time was to just treat them as their own instances. Now, since then, our legendary arsenal has quite grown a bit, and it has become very unwieldy. It has become very bloated. Lots of cool skins, don't get me wrong, but it has been to the point that you had to really scroll that list a lot in order to get to where you actually want to. Plus, it also didn't make things very easy. For example, you recruited a new hunter, and now you basically would sell their gun and would buy the one you wanted maybe in a particular skin before. That is changing now. So they are applied as skins over the base. So it's basically just one weapon instance, and then there's a little horizontal menu where you can just quickly like select the skin of that particular one. Also saves your last selection, and therefore is very, very easy and straightforward to work with. There are some exceptions still. Obviously, contraband like is kind of fixed. So if you have a contraband weapon, you can't swap the skins on that one, which also plays into the hand of that you kind of loot some of these skins from the world, right? And if you are getting, for example, weapons you don't have yet unlocked, or also different dirt levels, they kind of still separated out a little bit in that list. The dirt levels, you can still kind of define the skin per dirt level then, and obviously if you clean them, they merge into one. As you would expect, but there's some minor exceptions. Overall, that list is much reduced, and should make it a lot easier, just like to equip the hunters with the gear you want out of the box when you recruit them, and don't have to kind of like do this whole salary buy shenanigans.
Yeah, but how about we actually show how it looks, and then you can actually see it in action. So there you go. We have like a rotating scroll wheel type of selection for each weapon now, where you can apply the skins, as you can see here with the Ash Legendary, for example, for the conversion pistol.
Yeah, and you also have a chance, as you can see with the dual pistols, like that has kind of changed a little bit that interface as well. Plus, you also see some changes to the stats on the left side. We talk about those in a bit. That's like there's just general little overhaul of that stuff. But yeah, the more important part is you can kind of like quickly browse through the available skins. Some weapons have more, some less. Also, it's a good overview what skins are available in total. So this will be, I think, a huge quality of life improvement for many of you guys as you kind of sort through your equipment, and maybe in combination with the loadouts, kind of like prepare your hunters.
And some people with a very good eye spotted the unequip all button as well. So yes, you do have that too.
Naked runs for the win.
Yes. And yeah, another example with the Vagrant silencer. Wingfield silencer called Vagrant, sorry. Yeah, same story. Again, like the dirt levels are obviously still separating it, and but everything else then is applies. You can see it here. You can obviously play around with it on the test servers as well, see how it is, but I think it's just such a easier way, and all those crying mouse scroll wheels will live a longer life now.
Just a little side note as well. So you notice maybe on the top left side, there's this charm selection system, right? And this was just visually also just a little bit. When we introduced it first, it was kind of grayed out. So it almost felt like it was like a no selection button. So we kind of changed it a little bit. So it's much clearer that you can click on it to select a weapon charm. There's a cool side effect of that as well. It's like because you kind of see a 3D weapon in front of you as you can select your charms. You can really use it as an in arsenal 3D weapon viewer very quickly. Just kind of check on the weapons and try them out. So make sure you press that button a lot, equip charms, but also enjoy and appreciate the weapons there up close.
Yeah, and again, like people pointing out the left side being different, we'll talk about that just in a bit. But yeah, this is great, but we still have some similar things we change. But first, let's talk about another thing that I also will make some people very happy, the wildcard contracts, Dennis.
Yes, so this is an experiment that we want to do. As you guys know, we had multiple contracts in the past, and we had to kind of scale back on them a little bit, just to reduce them to just a random selection, in order for the matchmaking to be more efficient, having less splits in the matchmaking queues, etc. So we're doing an experiment now, and that means we might not keep it, we might change it a lot. So bear with us on that particular one. I'll go a little bit more into details in a second. That this is just a test we're doing, but I think it's a very promising one. So basically what we are now doing is we're introducing wildcard contracts, like wildcard being a term that you first heard in the last event, using the Inferno as an example. And we're now introducing this as a second choice to the regular contracts. Not the Inferno in this case, we'll get to that in a second, but basically a sub-selection of our times of days. If you go to the next one, please. Yep. So we have basically two separate rotations. In the past, this was all kind of weird. Like these two contracts we had, they would still kind of feed into one another once in a while. So we now made a clear cut between them. And that also means that, if you open the next one, please, that for testing purposes we are separating out night whenever this test is active.
Yes.
So we have the flexibility in the system, so we don't know yet how often we will do this test. This might be that we try it out maybe during the first week, maybe we'll do it only over weekends. It much depends a little bit on the data that we gather from it, like in terms of how healthy our matchmaking queues are and if you can afford that split. So for now, again, it will be an experiment, but whenever that experiment is active, you will see 2 contracts. And one of them will be the nighttime contract, the wildcard contract, and the other one will be the standard contract, which has all of the other times of days. So now that choice is something where, and I think that's something people will really, really appreciate, is the idea is like you can actually equip yourself for nighttime. That means you can now say like, hey, I want to bring that flare pistol, I'm going to bring those fuses, I can bring whatever, maybe even the lantern. Like a flashlight, and actually equip my hunter for going now into the wildcard contract nighttime. And so we are experimenting with this. We want to see how this feels. And for us, this will be a great experiment moving forward, and also to see how we can improve overall matchmaking quality, how we can kind of offer you more control about the contracts, and just, yeah, give you more freedom of choice there.
Yeah, and as Dennis said, like your feedback will be super important for this, as this is literally a test feature we are implementing. So obviously data and your feedback will be crucial to see how this goes forward. And yeah, you can see examples of the wildcard contracts with the nighttime on the screen as well. But Dennis, we also have to talk about something else here. So
exactly. So while looking at that screen, we did a couple of optimizations and just improvements in general. And one of the important parts here has been, so we kind of simplified how the entire tick boxes and bonuses are being displayed. So we simplified the system a little bit. There's still a bit of work that goes into this on the test server, but overall it's kind of representative of what you can expect, which is it kind of shows you the bounty range per token on each of the contracts, and then it gives you a very easy selection whether you want to play against teams of 3 or teams of 2 rather than tick box. And we have also at the same time taken away the option for skill-based matchmaking to be turned off. We we thought this will help us quite a lot actually with the experiment we're doing. Plus it also usually made it just harder for new players if they accidentally turned it off, because it just ended up in queues where they were completely outmatched. And for the veterans, it in practice didn't really matter much anyways. Very, very rarely did you have a chance to come across like enemies that kind of like ventured into your own like layer there. So for us, it's an important step moving forward, that we can kind of like get more control about the matchmaking queues, because it helps us to do these type of experiments and optimize the queues that we have in order to give you guys more control there. So I think it's a worthy sacrifice. It is for the better overall, and will help us with this experiment here.
Awesome, and the chat actually seems really happy about the changes so far, General. So that's awesome to see. And actually, we have a lot more still. So I'm so happy. Yeah. So let's talk about the gameplay changes still. And there's a big one here too, which we start with. That's the combat log beta, we call it. So what is that all about, Dennis?
Yeah, so this is a work in progress feature, but we were so excited about it, we wanted to get it out as soon as possible, which is a rework of our damage history on the dev screen. And what it does now is it tracks a lot more events. Plus, it also shows you not only the inbound damage, but also the outgoing damage. So it will be a lot easier for you guys to understand as you die like lie dead in the dirt, what led to this particular moment. Like, oh, I shot this guy, I only hit him in the arm, he shot me in the head, that's why I'm dead. Well, it gives you a lot more information. It is still a bit wonky. That's why we release it as a beta. It doesn't have all of the events 100% covered. There's still a couple of things that are a bit inaccurate, so we're still working on it. We will improve it further. But we thought alone the fact that we have the outgoing damage and the inbound damage both in there now is already such a great improvement, and we don't want to hold it back. So I think you people will enjoy it a lot. However, please keep in mind, it has some bugs, it has some issues, so please check the known issues then in the patch notes that will highlight exactly the parts that are a bit still, not 100% polished yet.
Right, but let's look at in action, and then you can break down what we're actually seeing. So let's see how it actually looks.
You see a bit of fighting against AI, then being hit by another player, shooting back, also hitting them. Health being regenerated a little bit there in cover, trying to peek. And hitting the guy and dying. So now on the dev screen, what we see is, we just pause the video here for a second just to go through it. It's not many events. So you kind of have a chance to filter the left and the right side, like inbound and outbound damages. So at first we see the damage we've been doing against the grunts, so shooting them in the lower torso both there. The last kill, like the last shot, was basically a kill on that grunt. Then receiving damage to the torso from that unknown player. The player names are kind of like on our test environment, not always displayed correctly, but it should be fine on the test server. However, you're also landing a shot with your weaker weapon against that player in the torso as well. Then you go behind cover, you see the regeneration. So when the next event triggers, you have regenerated 36 hit points by that time. And then that other player shoots you and kills you basically before your own shot lands, so you don't see what happened after you died, obviously. So whether you killed them or whether they just basically took normal damage. But it was a death blow. It was through the fence, as you can see in the background there. Again, a torso shot, and you see the time code even like and how long a time this was. We're tracking 90 seconds. So if you have done a lot of actions, you can actually scroll back quite a bit in order to see what transpired that is relevant to you the moment before you died.
Yeah, so I love how much information you can actually see. And also what I really love it that it shows the location where you actually landed the shot. That is awesome. So.
Like if you were to click on any of those points, they would expand and show you a little bit more detail. So you would then see, for example, the health chunks and how they changed. You know that already from the current damage history. This has been expanded upon as well. You will see more information about, for example, if the player is poisoned or on fire, whether it was custom ammunition that hit them, etc. So lots of more information is in there already. We add more in the future as well to make it even more granular. But even right now, there's like things like banishment, for example, are being taken into account here. So if a banishing happened in the meantime, that means your health got restored. It will be flagging here as an event like regeneration.
Awesome, Dennis. Again, the chat is so happy. This is awesome. I'm still like trying to not get emotional over all the positivity, so I have to fight it a bit. But yeah, please again try this out. As Dennis said, this is a beta, so there will be some bugs, some issues. But please again give your feedback. This is a big change. Gives a lot more transparency around the game and what happens when you fight someone, when you fight AI, etc. So I think it's really, really huge. So please check it out. Yeah, let's go on to our next point, which is the overall weapon statistics screen, which we already showed a bit, but like now you can actually tell us what we've seen there, because again, I think this change goes similar to the combat log a bit, but in the menu. So what is this about, Dennis?
Yeah, so you kind of saw it already a little bit before. We've kind of gone through the weapon statistics and done a bit of an update, a bit of housekeeping there. We replaced a few. We've kind of like recalculated some differently. And specifically when it comes to the rate of fire, the reload times, etc., you see a lot more clear, proper, accurate data in there. Each of them have a different tooltip where needed, like where the rules change. So on the test server, you can just hover over each of these icons and it will explain you what the calculation is behind that. And it gives you a better overview in general what's being done. Like it includes some of the stamina stuff as well, some melee stuff. So it's contextual based on what item you're looking at. In this case, the Vagrant being obviously like a silent sniper. You see 250 meters a second for that one, the reload, etc. So the full details of that one will be in the patch notes as well. So please make sure you read upon the weapon statistics there and then try it on a test server, give it a try. It should be a lot clearer. Give us your feedback, please. What do you think? And we have some ideas also for improving this in the future further. But for now, we think this is actually a very good improvement already.
Yeah, like I think it's great. You get a lot, again, transparency here. Like you get much more info about your weapon. The old stats that were not so clear were reworked, and there's a lot more new icons as well and new stats you can look at. So again, just hover over them, see what they actually mean. Read the patch notes, it will be explained there as well. But I think that's also a really, really good change. But we don't have to talk about this more. Again, you guys have to try it out and see it for yourself. Let's go into another big topic. Oh, this is a big one. So solo gameplay changes. Yeah, let's why did we do this, Dennis? And talk about the events and all that. Like,
yeah. So of course, we did our event, right? And in the event, we had quite a number of mechanics in there for solos we were experimenting with. And from our data and the sentiment, it looks like you guys liked it.
Chat is already going crazy.
So we've come back to that, added a bit of things even on top of what we've had during the event, changed some of things from the event, and want to give solo players, which are very, very important to us as well. Like if you don't have your friends online, if you just enjoy playing solo, we want you to have a fair experience. And all of these are steps towards making sure we kind of even the grounds a little bit, even the playing field a little bit, and make sure solo players have a good fighting chance. As you've seen in the last event, I think it was quite successful.
Right, so yeah, let's see what these changes actually are, and let's start with some trade updates that I think a lot of people already guessed, but there's more than what you actually guessed. So let's see at the first one.
Necromancer. Who would have thought?
Wow.
Who would have thought that Necromancer is a thing here? We have basically added the solo-only self-revive condition that we had during the event. So this is just a standard feature of Necromancer now. It is up to you how you use it. If you want to use it, if you want to risk getting like back up and then maybe getting downed right away. But the solo player does have the option now to consider it at least as part of the toolbox. Don't complain if you continuously die, but you have the power to choose to. We've also done a bit of change in housekeeping on this one. So where before we had like 4 seconds, which was kind of like an ideal type of like Necromancer under perfect situations would be around that time, but it doesn't really take into account like getting into position, all this stuff. So we kind of upped it to 10 seconds. So it's not as immediate. It's not like as like Terminator, like instantly getting back up and just like hammering the guy down right away. You have to wait for a bit in order to be able to use it. So that is a bit of a balancing aspect to it. And we also fixed a couple of like Reddit bugs. For example, there was this issue that you couldn't kind of like not lose the hunter, or was it the hunter losing? I'm not sure. Like there was some issues like with like extracting in the end, etc. All of that stuff should be working much better.
Yeah, when everyone extracted and you revived after.
And you revived yourself, like exactly, like these type of things. So it's overall a bit cleaner. Sort of the housekeeping, some of the bug fixes have been applied there, and the timer went up. But yeah, let's see how people like that one. We feel very strong about this one, and has brought, I think, a lot of joy to people during the event.
Yes, but we actually did other changes as well, other than Necro. So let's see what we did to Magpie. And actually, the first part of this is not just for solo players, but for everyone.
Yeah, so just a general buff for Magpie is now it gives all 3 effects. So that is basically the regeneration effect, that is the stamina effect, and the antidote effect. You get those for the couple minutes time in order to make a move, etc. So it's not just random, and you have to be lucky, for example, to get stamina to be able to just snatch the bounty and run away. It's all 3 effects, so quite of a boost. It doesn't become more expensive because of that, so it's just a direct upgrade of that otherwise very cheap trade.
And the solo part of this will be very interesting. So what does it do to solo players?
Yeah, so basically it doubles the dark side boost capacity. Now what that means is that if you're a solo player, you pick up a bounty, it gives you 10 seconds, not 5, 10. And also what it does in addition is that whenever you gain an additional second back, for example, by looting like a hunter or interacting with a clue, it doubles the gain as well. So rather than 1 second, you get 2 seconds back. So for solo players, a very, very big boon. It allows you to kind of like try a couple more things that normally maybe you wouldn't have tried. And this is going to be very, very interesting. And again, the trade remains very cheap. So for solo players going for the bounty, if you want to risk going for the bounty, this is a thing that should make it a little bit easier. Rather than sitting in the shadows, ratting it out with a sniper rifle in the distance, this is something that allows you to actually go in and risk a little bit more. So that's why we kind of feel very happy about this one.
Yeah, this is crazy. If all players remember, when we first introduced Dark Side Boost, it was actually 10 seconds long, and it was reduced later on. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that plays out with solo players as well, though.
Yeah, I'm for example, whenever I play solo, I'm usually pretty shy. I'm very reserved. I more play more playing on the long range side of things. I rarely rush in too much. This will actually allow me to do that a little bit more, give me a bit more confidence in actually succeeding. Like I'm not a top tier player. I would call myself like a mid tier, and for me, like having a bit more of like a bonus like that actually will probably make me move a little bit closer in fights. So I can also experience that part of the solo play a little bit more without getting my ass kicked right away.
Awesome. And just for that asked on the screen, Dennis explained it about DSB stands for Dark Side Boost. It was just taking up a lot of space, so it doubles the Dark Side Boost gain from looting clues or players.
Yeah. So the seconds you get from interacting with them.
Exactly. So you get 2 seconds back instead of 1 as a solo, basically.
Yeah.
All right, and there's one more trait that has been changed with update 1.12, and that would be Serpent.
Yeah, that plays directly into the same area as well. So for solos, what we've done to Serpent now is we have increased the range, rather doubled the range for interactions. So where before, if you are want to snatch up, let's say, for example, a bounty token, or if you want to interact with a clue, you had to be within 25 meters. As a solo, 50 meters is enough. That means you have much more freedom to kind of like steal that team's bounty from a much safer spot, and they will have to react to that. So it will make it a lot easier for you to be a solo guy without taking too many risks, and helps quite a bit as well. So solos overall getting a massive boost here. Let's see how that plays out in practice. I think solos are underdogs, and they've kind of deserved getting a bit more support on that front.
Yes, and obviously, again, we're gonna be looking at the data and your feedback as well, relating these changes as well. So make sure to give the feedback, and you can always do that on our Discord channel or on social media or by reaching out to us. This is very, very important. But Dennis, we didn't just change the traits, but we did some other related changes as well to the game. So let's talk about the underdog bonus.
Yeah, so the underdog bonus is the bonus you receive when you basically go up against stronger teams. So as a solo, for example, you play against duos, you get a small bonus. If you play against trios, you get a bigger bonus. And also as duos against trios, you get a bit of a bonus. So that number is just went up a little bit. Again, just a bit of an incentive. This is basically the bonus you receive for extracting with a bounty token. So if you manage to snatch a bounty token as a solo before already, when you played against trios, you would get 500 on top of that token. Now it's 600. So it's just a little bit more in terms of an incentive to make money, be profitable. Our data shows actually solos are usually pretty doing well if they succeeded, especially during the event. So we want to see how we can motivate them a little bit more even here, and yeah, again, level the playing field.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I'm always happy to get a bit more money, especially if you are an underdog. So that's great to see. And again, like for the traits as well, please test it out. Let us know how you feel. But that's about the solo gameplay changes. And we also had some other changes to quick play, the other game mode.
Yeah. So quick play changes are a bit more housekeeping, so this is nothing like too special, but we've added a couple of additional weapon variations on weapons, like starting weapons to the gear. So I can quickly maybe open up that cheat sheet of mine.
Right. Obviously, the full list of the available weapons will be available in the patch notes as well. It's a long list. So
not going through everything, but for example, who would have thought the hunting bow is now an option for medium range? We have a Nagant silencer pair as a random option. It can appear. Scottfield Model 3, the Sparks pistol, the Springfield 8066 compact, all of those are now basically for medium range. On short range, we also have the Terminus hand cannon, and we have the Lamont Mark II pair. So there's one more thing as well for the melee side. So if you go for the melee option, besides your main melee weapon, which could be like the combat axe, etc., right? You also have your melee tool replaced with throwing knives or throwing axe to give you a bit of a ranged option as well on that front. So overall, quite a bit more starting options that could appear, and hopefully also makes the whole thing a bit more interesting for players.
Awesome. Yes, and let's talk about the thing that everyone talked about on social media since yesterday when we announced the stream, which is the saddles that they could see. So let's talk about those. What can people do with them?
So no, we are not adding horses as mounts, sorry. But what we're doing is we're giving you more exploration options. So these are basically lootable saddles that can be found throughout the world. Some of them can be found on our incapacitated hiding, dying horses. Others can be at a hitching post. It's like a new kind of hitching post prop that we kind of scattered around the world a little bit more. So when you find one of those saddlebags, they can contain one of a number of things. So it can be an interaction similar to like a toolbox with consumables and hunt dollars. That consumables also sometimes give you stuff that you can't get from the toolbox. So interesting to maybe still loot that one, because you might get a couple of things you otherwise only can find like pre-placed in the world, like on the tower, for example, as a feature we introduced in the last update. And we also have weapon holsters on them. So some of them might contain a lootable weapon. There could be like usually like it's like kind of like a horse fitting weapon, like a carbine of some sort. So we have a number of weapons. Again, the full list you can read in the patch notes. It will not be super high end tier gear, but it will be still good weapons.
There's some good ones in there, actually. Yeah,
absolutely. Like a Lamont carbine, even I think is part of it. This is a couple of really good choices, and so some of these lootable saddles, they might contain either a weapon or they might contain a bag you can loot, or both. So that's kind of like a little bit of randomization between them.
Yeah, let's look at them so you can actually see what we are talking about. So in this one, you can actually see both the weapon holster with a weapon in it and the saddle bag as well. So on the right would be the saddle bag you can loot, and obviously the left is the holster.
Yeah. And the saddlebag follows the usual rule of 2, so like 2 players can interact with it. It's like a half open state basically to signal that in between.
Yes, and yeah, some in-game images as well, and we will show you some videos as well. So again, it's the hitching post with a saddle bag on it. Here's a horse with probably a cowboy left it there with a weapon holster. And then another example with a weapon. But yeah, let's look at videos just so you can see in action a bit better. So there's a poor dying horse with a Vetterli in this case. And yeah, you can take it. And let's see this one. So here you have just a saddlebag on a hitching post. Again, as Dennis said, you can loot all sorts of consumables, some that you may not even find in toolboxes. And if you're really lucky, you may find some that have both the weapon holster with a weapon and saddlebag to loot.
Yeah, so they are kind of rare. You won't find them around every corner. Think of them as something else, for example, to let's say cash registers as a additional option, additional thing you can kind of explore in the world.
Yeah, I think it's great in general. Like always, fun to loot more things. So thank you, and play around with it. I think it's awesome. You know, like at least like whenever you go around and there's always something to interact with, something to look for. I think it just always makes the gameplay a bit more fun and rewarding. So cool. And you may find some good guns again. Like on this image, actually, you can see the Lamont carbine, which we actually received a small change, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's about the saddlebag. So let's dive into some level changes, and we have one in particular, which is some bigger changes to Weeping Stone Mill, which was revamped in this update. We will have some other level changes, but we won't talk about those in the stream, so please check out the patch notes for those as well. But let's look at some before and after images for this compound.
Yeah, again, kudos to the level team for doing all these changes. I'm putting my Tom hat on now and pretending to be Tom for the duration of this one. And so basically what we see is one compound change here, and that is Whipping Stone Mill. We've added like a underground section that leads up into the lair from the ground. So you can kind of see it a little bit on the lower one. There's like this waterside entrance point that kind of leads in there. If you go to the next one. You also see like that we kind of extended some of the interior to make room for the new staircase. It also had like a nice effect of kind of like streamlining some of the outside areas a little bit in terms of how you can move in and around there. If you go to the next one. There's like another entrance here, what is basically on the ground level outside in the water, where you can kind of also enter this new underground section through like that not a windmill, but that basically mill, the water mill. And then here, this is how this ground floor section has been redecorated. So you can kind of see it in the background. It's very hard to see right now, but you see this little lantern, and then right behind that is like the stairs leading up from the basement section into the lair.
Yeah, so on the after picture on the left side, you can see that wall has been removed, and that's where the new staircase is.
Yeah, like everything is being pushed outward. So like the layer didn't really get smaller, it got bigger, but to accommodate that staircase on the ground floor, that means then the top floor kind of was just increasing in size, just in general.
Yep, and another picture from that.
Yeah, here's well, like with the wall being pushed out a little bit, so the staircase is like on the level below in the center, and that gives us the room to expand the top floor a little bit as well.
And then the staircase itself leading down to the new area.
Yeah, so like you see like how that archway kind of coming from the water areas. You see like the way leading upwards. It's like a small little room down there, a little underground, with the two entrances from the mill and the waterside area, and then leading upstairs.
Yeah, awesome. Again, play around in the new. It has been reworked like a lot actually. This is a lot of addition to one compound, so test it out. I think it's gonna be very fun to play in there actually.
Besides that, like in the patch notes, there's a couple other points that have been highlighted. They're mostly about how vegetation has been updated in some particular areas, just to make sure like the navigating is easier, the flow of moving is better, and they can be like not exploited in particular ways. So overall, please check the patch notes, but I think there's really good stuff from the level team, and like specifically this compound here is very nice because it's one you kind of very often go to, so it kind of changes the tab a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, but that was about the main changes, and we have some other notable changes to mention in the stream. We did refer to some of them earlier during the stream as well, so let's talk about those quickly, starting with the Stalker Beetle explosion damage. So
yeah, the Stalker Beetle, we were quite conservative initially with the damage it does and the tests we've been doing, and now since the Stalker Beetle has kind of settled down in the arsenal and has its fans, has its haters, we know a little bit more about how it's being used in practice, what people like about it, etc. And increasing the damage is just one of those housekeeping tasks that we can do, and we feel confident about it. It's not a problem in order to give it a bit more utility. So we can deal a bit more reliably damage. It's obviously not too much still, but it felt before it was just a bit too much, and now it feels like a bit too weak, a bit too tough to actually pull something off with it. You've seen that it talks about the quest line, for example, and now you can do a little bit more with it.
Exactly what I wanted to say. Like it will be very helpful for the Billy story quest line. So and your teammates can help you too, and so yeah, it will be much easier to complete that and maybe kill a player with a Stalker Beetle. So
absolutely.
Let's see the other one, which is about the clouds of the poison and choke balls.
Yeah, so this is again just a bit of housekeeping. This is primarily to make sure that there's a bit more utility in them. So the poison bolt cloud, just like basically that area just got increased a little bit, so it's more reliable to actually block, for example, a wider barn door. Before it was just like barely like holding people off from a small door. So just becomes a bit more usable in that area. And on the choke side, with the regular choke bombs, we have an initial explosion effect. So basically, as it goes off, which is usually a little bit bigger than what the area indicates afterwards, right? Like that lingers around, where the gas lingers around. And we've done the same thing now with the choke bolt, so you have a much higher chance to actually extinguish fire, save your teammate with a shot, because it's also harder to aim with it. It's more forgiving that way, and then obviously afterwards that area effect is still a bit smaller.
And let's look at the next one then, which is a smaller change, but since again we focused on new players a lot with this update, and so we added new loading screens and tips as well. So there will be more variety that you will see, and this will also help new players understand certain topics in the game better too.
Yeah, what we can do here now, and it's a cool feature, and we definitely want to expand on it in future updates. So this is just setting the groundwork on that front right now. We can now have hints target specific types of players. So we can say like those new players that are below a certain rank, or those high veteran players that are above a certain even prestige. Like we can now make the loading screens specific to each of those groups, which means we can make sure that the new players get the essential information that they need, that is important for them to pick up, because honestly they don't need to know about what a Dolch does at whatever. If they're new players, they will not see that weapon for a while usually. So it's more important that they understand the basics, while for example more like experienced players in the mid-level or even the veterans, they can deal with a lot more like niche information, specifics, and we wanted to have a lot more of that rolling into the system. But it's the foundation now, it's a starting point, and there will be more targeted loading screen hints coming soon.
Sounds great. And again, I refer to this with the horse picture, but we did change the Lamont carbine a bit. So we did increase the rate of fire slightly with update 1.12. Maybe Dennis, you can tell a bit about it. I guess it's a lot of data collected during Devil's Moon for this weapon.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having had a chance to play with it a little bit more, seeing how people responded to it. So this is a very small change, but still it should be noticeable. So with the Limmat carbine, the fire rate is just slightly increased now between shots. It still is a single action weapon, which means you need to kind of cock the hammer between shots. It's not a double action like the officer, so it will be definitely still below that fire rate. But overall, it should be a little bit easier to follow up on the shots that way, and maybe gives the whole thing a little bit more quality and a better consideration compared, for example, like the normal lever guns.
Sounds great. So we also did some improvements to the interior footsteps audio that we introduced maybe one update before this one, if I remember correctly. Now they are even better, basically, so more accurate. And this is, for example, when you're inside a building and there's a player above you, you can tell it much better now.
Yeah, exactly. So like specifically on wood, footsteps in interiors are a bit easier to discern, like to tell apart from people on your own level. So again, something on the test server, give us feedback on it. Some further improvements on the audio side definitely here, and I think it works a little bit more reliable.
And as a last mention, now you can see which rate you receive in quick play on a ticker side.
Exactly, like another small, quick like a quick play quality of life improvement. So this is basically just like showing you the trade name, so you don't have to go to the map to check it out. You kind of like just keep on going after the trade, and after interacting with the rift, and it shows you what you got there. And just keep on going.
Right, and obviously, like we have more changes, but everything will be in the patch notes. So if you want to get a full list of everything that changed, please check that out. And before we dive into the Q&A section, let's talk about our legendary content in this update. We won't spend hours on them, and we won't read the text, so they will be on screen, so you can screenshot it if you're interested in the lore part. But we're just gonna quickly look at each that you will be able to get in the store. So let's start with our firebomb Brooks Burner. Super cool, another great fireball skin. Firebomb skin, sorry.
So this is like a regular firebomb. It looks really nice as well. I like that.
Exactly, some renders of it so you can see clearly. Again, I want to mention that all the Bloodborne content that is being added in this update will be also available in the black market, which is getting a refresh. So you will be able to get this with a discount there right away. But they will all look really good, and we actually have 2 hunters too, so wait till the end. A new Alamo, and I know Dennis just loves the Alamo, so...
Yeah, I think this one works very well. I like the wooden like frame, basically the sturdy frame there around the trigger. So looks really nice.
And some nice table renders so you guys can see it a bit more clearly, and close up looks very clean and nice.
Yeah, has a bit of the look of like a modern air rifle of some sort, but yeah, don't underestimate that pack of that bunch there.
I wonder what the numbers mean though. Or yeah, so that's the Alamo. Then we have a Spark Silencer skin called Muscadine, if I pronounce that correctly. And I actually really love this one. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I like this one.
Gorgeous. Again, some nice renders of it so you can see it a bit nicer on the table. Really beautiful. And as a Sparks enjoyer, I love it. And then we have some weapon charms as well, starting with the Ferryman's Coin. Again, really cool. You can just buy it in the store and attach it to your weapon if you like it. Cool.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Yeah, here's again a closer up image so you can see how it hangs on. I think it's a combat axe in this image, so we usually love showing these on the combat axe because it's cool. Then we have the Nimin Claw. So it is what the name entails, basically a claw, and looks really nice. Again, here's on the axe. Then we have another charm called Ruby's Favor. So this is a fancy one with a ring and like a golden medallion. Really pretty. And again, if you want to read the lore descriptions that are on the screen, just make sure to screenshot it and you can read it. And again, here it is on the axe. I cannot wait to see this tingling around. And lastly, for the charms, we have the Blood Relic, which is a bit like a small vial of blood that you can attach to your around. So for all the vampire lovers, here you can take it with you. It's a bit crazier one. I love it. And again, the biggest.
Cool one.
Sorry.
No, just really cool. I
yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome one. Again, and the biggest things are the two hunters. So first we have Worm Bite. So cool. He does have a shovel on his back, so you know,
Yeah, a bit of a grave digger.
Yeah, definitely. Here's a closer picture of him, so you can see it a bit better. I feel like he's super badass personally. So putting people to all those dirt naps will be a bit better. At least he can dig you a hole to put you in. Really cool skin coming with this update. And then there's one more legendary hunter called the Hornback, and she will also be available during update 1.12. Also super cool.
It's super awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it's like a cool cowboy with like leather.
Like, can you really imagine like a cool team like of Sophia and her basically the
gunslinger.
Yeah, like it's very similar style. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. So I really like all the skins in this update, so make sure to check them out in the store. Again, Black Market will get a refresh, and the new items will be included in there, and I think it's a 40% discount if you get them, so maybe worth checking out. But with that, we came to the end of the content for the stream, and we do have the Q&A section now. So Ferenc, you can join us again. I hope you also enjoyed watching from the back. And oh, there you are.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm back.
Yeah, well, it was nice seeing all the changes and all the improvements and additions. But by the way, guys, while you were talking to the community, I completed 2 quest lines and 1 live event.
Wow.
And I prestige 200. So.
Wow. So again, chat, ask your questions now, and I'm also looking at our moderators collecting them for us. And I see a lot of questions about certain topics. Again, guys, like we will have this roadmap video coming up very soon, and that will talk about a lot of the questions you may have in the chat. So if you can, please try to focus your questions on this update in particular, and a lot of your other questions again will be answered with that video. So please keep an eye out for it. And Dennis, friends, if you've seen one that you can already answer, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think there were sorry, two essential questions to the quest lines. Were they time limited or time sensitive? Yes. We after releasing the original Halloween quest line back in October, end of October, with 1.10, we received the feedback that the 2 weeks period was too short. It was like a mini event, right? It's like a medium term activity for players to enjoy the game, to get cool rewards, but 2 weeks was too short. So we decided to basically increase that value to 4 weeks or 31 days each. Now, again, like increasing it even more would risk, becoming like live events themselves. So we would like to avoid that. They are like smaller cousins to live events. They are going to be running for a longer period than previously. We did the balancing changes based on the fact that everything is going to be team shared now. So that's a good news. And the previous balancing values were not that bad. So we have data and community feedback to basically prove that. But yeah. And second one, everyone's asking about the gator traps. So both quest lines are going to be supported by a new interactive world object, which are going to be the gator traps. And these are going to be you can basically encounter them in each and every mission on all the maps. You will have to interact with them to basically funnel progress your active quests for these investigate gator traps. Now, they are not going to be as competitive as interactive objects or world objects for previous live events. So you're not going to interact with them by destroying them. You're going to interact with them in a similar way how players already interact with boss clues. So one team can go there, interact with a gator trap, and then leave, and another team can also approach the same gator trap and then leave. Of course, I think it's safe to assume that because they are going to be spawned relatively close to water and masses of water like rivers and deltas, players are going to be able to see them in Darkside, so they are going to be wanting to go there, and they are going to engage with each other. At least that's my assumption.
Yeah, you can try it all as a test server.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of questions that I will just group up now to answer. So people asking about Gen 9 console update, custom lobbies, kill trading, the new boss. Please wait for the video from David and Rick, and these topics will all be touched on, as well as the IC engine related questions. Please watch the video when it's out. These will be all topics in there. So just wait for that, and they will be discussed in that one. So I hope that answers a lot of questions already. Yes. So Dennis, there's a question related to the ammo pool of the Krag. Are we looking for any improvements in the future, or what do we think about that?
So yeah, ammo in general is a big topic for us. I can't talk more about it for this update, but in general, not just for the Krag, there's going to be some work in the future for that.
That's a perfect answer, I think. When will the test servers go live? Please keep an eye out. It will go live very soon, planned for this week, but again, like, you know, it can always change, so just keep an eye out. I hope you won't have to wait a long time at all. So yeah.
we want it to be in a good state, so that's why we're hard to commit to a specific day, but usually like the dev stream is very, very short before.
Very shortly before, yes. Is there a limit to how many times you can self-revive, or how does that work?
Well, technically, yeah. Your health chance.
Yeah, so that's quite obvious, yes. But keep in mind that every time you die, you do die, and that affects a lot of things. So do it at your own risk. So
I think there were a couple questions here I would like to take. So one was like, can you get Knight on the standard contract? So that depends on whether the test is active or not. If we are doing the wildcard contract test, and again, please keep an eye out for our socials when this will be happening and what extent. However, on the test server, obviously it will be active all the time. You will have the nighttime broken out of the regular random rotation, and will be its own separate thing, a wildcard contract, an own selection, so you can kind of prepare for it. But it will no longer be in the regular rotation then during that time of the test. So you can choose: do you want nighttime or you want anything else randomly, including like fog, sunrise, etc.
Awesome. So someone asked, like, how do you do saddlebags, or I guess the weapons? So obviously the weapons, I suppose only one player can loot it, but then he or she leaves their weapon there, so the other technically could loot their weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you find like a weapon lying on the table somewhere in the world. So they're just nicely like arrested in that holster, right? But the moment you want to swap them out, the other one just drops on the ground that you had, and then people can pick it up from right next to the holster, or that's a hoisting post if it was just a separate saddle.
Makes sense. As for the saddlebags, I suppose it's the usual rule: 2 loots per.
Yeah, like you have like 2 interactions, so
Yeah.
once per player, and then that gives you at least that a team of 2 can both get it. Now, what's interesting about this is like now you have to make a decision. Like if you want to avoid a horse, you maybe just want to quickly like kill it. Maybe you don't have a throwing knife or axe or whatever. Then you want to risk it making noise, but get the goodies from it. Like just part of the normal decision making process, spices things up a little bit, and gives a bit more exploration variety. There's a question if a magpie and conduit effects stack. Yes, they do already. So whenever you get like a new source, it just adds up on top of what is already running. For example, if you had like a stamina or antidote shot running, like these things also just add on top.
I still see some topics that will be also featured in the video, so namely custom lobbies will be discussed in that video as well. So I know we haven't talked about them in a while, but again, that will be in there. There will be also mentions of the new map. So again, this video will be a huge one, and you've been all waiting for it. It will contain a lot of info for the future of the game, so please check that out. But we won't talk about those here now.
Yeah, it will be available very soon.
Very soon, yes.
There's a question if like the changes to the new inventory will affect the limit of contraband weapons. So there's no change to that. So you can only still carry a very limited amount of contrabands. Obviously, that has an impact on how many variety you could have there in this case. But then again, just keep on using them or put them on a hunter, etc.
Someone of is the reload bug is being addressed. Like I think we can answer that then.
yeah. So it was actually one of the first slides of today. So the reload bug has been addressed. We are very confident it is in a very good shape now. We want to use the test server now to validate, to really make sure that we've covered all of the different cases. Keep in mind, it wasn't just the reload bug, it was actually the reload bugs. There were so many different things there that were going wrong, and we hopefully caught all of them. So help us with the test server to see whether that's true or not. But overall, you should see a massive improvement already.
Is there any questions you would like to answer now, Ferenc or Dennis, still? Because I see a lot of repeated and mostly answered. Or they are in the video I talked about, so...
I think from my side, I'm good. I've answered quite a number.
Awesome. So if Ferenc is happy as well, some people ask where the video will be. Obviously, as always, you will find it on our YouTube channel. It will be a longer video, so it won't be available everywhere, but we will obviously link it on social. So if you keep track of Hunt, you will be easily find it. But please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for this kind of content, because that helps you keep updated as well. And you can also watch this dev stream there. So you know, it is just good. And again, thank you for talking to me, Dennis, Ferenc. I think it was such a great update. I was really happy. Really, like, the community was really nice too, and everyone seems really happy about this update. So it was hard not to get emotional during it for me. Like it has been a while since I've seen like this much positivity. So
it was great. Like the team did an amazing job. Like all of these features, they put all of their love into this as usual. Like really good stuff. So very proud of everybody, and I think you guys will enjoy it once you get your hands on the test server.
Yes, again, thank you, Dennis, for taking the time as well. And you too, Ferenc, for driving us through the live design stuff and the quest line.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was really nice chatting with you guys and talking about the upcoming updates. So.
Amazing. So again, chat, thank you. That will be from us for today. Have a great night, and keep an eye out for the updates regarding the test servers and the video as well. So bye-bye. Have a good night or good morning, depending where you are.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.